Hey everybody, Dan Durbin here, your race coordinator for Campus Coast this year, talking from George Stockman's garage. I've been getting a lot of questions about the gear that's required for the event, and we did a few rules changes, so I just want to go through everything to kind of reiterate, that way you know you have everything for the race. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go through our personal gear and our team gear, okay? First thing you need, for every team, we're requiring 2 Coast Guard approved aerial flares. These Orion flares are what most people end up getting. They're the cheapest option. Now, if you've done the race before, you probably already have a set of flares. It's real important that you check to see that they are actually not expired. The actual expiration date is on the side of the flare. Please make sure it is, because it is a big issue if you don't have everything. We will be checking all your gear at the beginning of the race. Next thing your team is required to have is 1 white light for night travel. Could be as simple as a headlamp, could be something as simple as a flashlight. I like headlamps. I think everyone should have them in your boat, but what is really nice is having something on the front of your boat, because every single time you bring your paddle up, you're going to be flashing yourself in the face with the paddle from the reflection, okay? So you could even do something as simple as duct taping a flashlight to the bow of your boat. Next thing you're required to have emergency blankets. You're supposed to have 2 or 3, and then you're supposed to have 1 for each additional teammate. These are nice, but what I actually recommend, you're required to have these, but I will also accept one of these SOL emergency bivvies. These things cost 20 bucks. They're super duper nice, way warmer, way more durable. It's a much more practical product. You basically pull it out of the package and it's ready to go, and it's that same Mylar material, just a lot more durable. All right? Next thing your team is required to have is a shelter solution. Now, this could be something as simple as a tarp or something like that, but I like a tent because you can actually get all your gear out of the rain and you're not sleeping directly on the ground. Could be something as simple as a Walmart tent or a tarp. It really is your guys' choice. Next thing, as far as your shelter system, I always include your sleep system. I usually carry a synthetic, not down, sleeping bag with me. It's nice to have a synthetic bag because if it gets wet, you can actually still use it. It's really important that if you do decide to sleep in the boat, you do not zip this up when you get into it. Just lay it on top of you. You don't want to know what happens if you fall in and this is zipped up around you, okay? Sleeping pad. There's 2 types. There's the inflatable type, which is usually more comfortable, but not as warm. And then your closed foam cell one. This one's going to be a lot warmer. You can sit on this pad as well, sorry. You're also supposed to have a way to start fires. Matches, lighters, anything works, but make sure you guys have redundancies. I always carry multiple lighters. I just did a canoe trip where we went down to Grand Rapids and we already went through a box of matches, someone's lighter went in the water. Have multiples on you. Also, a way to start a fire, like a fire starter. You can go to your dryer, take the dryer lint, that's fine. You could go to Dick's Sporting Goods, you could get Fatwood, whatever. You just want something that if you do end up capsizing, you have an easy way to start a fire that's going to be burning long enough for you guys to actually get PFD, Coast Guard approved. This one's mine. And then another piece of gear that you're supposed to have is a whistle. I mount mine in my PFD because then I know at least it's going to stay with me. You are required to wear your PFD through the entire race, okay? In the state of Michigan, usually the rule is as long as it's in the boat and fitted to you, that's fine. But for the conditions of our race, you have to be wearing it at all times. Alright guys, so another thing that's required on your gear list is a sufficient change of warm clothes. Now, what that basically means is multiple layers in a dry bag. If you don't have a dry bag, trash bags will work just fine, just double them up, okay? It's really important to note that once you're on that last set of dry clothes, your race is over. You're not allowed to continue, okay? And we will be, like I said, checking all your gear. Now, what I mean by a set of dry clothes is a multiple layering system. First thing you're going to want to do is base layers, okay? Synthetic or wool, no cotton, no down, okay? So maybe a wool top, synthetic bottoms is what I usually do. And then you're going to want a mid layer. This is going to be the layer that actually keeps you warm, right? I like my Patagonia fleece. Next and most important thing, this year we changed the rules. You're required to carry rain gear with you. Came real in handy this week, and I paddled all the way out to Grand Rapids and it started pouring down rain and I got soaked to the bone because, I I didn't have all my rain gear, all right? So, a rain jacket and rain pants. Now I understand that these are kind of expensive pieces of clothing, so what you can do is you can go to Walmart, you can go to Meijer, what have you, pick up Frog Togs. They're like 20 bucks, it's tops and bottoms, it's gonna keep you super duper warm. Another tip, that when you have that rain gear, you can throw your PFD underneath your rain gear and it will actually keep it dry, and then those PFDs make great pillows, you know, and also there's nothing worse than actually putting on a wet PFD. Cell phone in a waterproof container. George Stockman likes to use peanut butter jars. They actually do work pretty well, and most of the time for a large gift jar, your iPhone or whatever have you will fit inside. Cell phone has to be off though, no two-way communications during the race. As far as keeping all your emergency gear, I always keep mine in a brightly colored dry bag. This is my ditch kit. It's usually a lot bigger, but I just took everything out of it. I put this under my seat, that way if I start to go in, it's the first thing I'm going to be grabbing for. After a while, all your gear is going to kind of start building up, so what I like to do, I carry a big dry bag that's got straps on the back of it, and I throw all my gear in here pretty much, except for my ditch kit. And then when I'm actually at portages, I just have to take this out of the canoe and my ditch kit and, you know, carry my canoe, versus having 1,000 little small bags that, you know, are nice, but, you know, it's kind of nice to have everything you can move quickly at portages. For a race like this, I did the race route this weekend, and I liked my 10-liter dry bag for food. You know, things like tuna packets, tortillas, peanut butter, anything like that will be really nice for the race, and it's nice to keep it all organized in a small dry bag. This is one of the only ones that isn't in the big bag, because you don't want every single time you want to get a Cliff Bar to have to open up your bag that has all your clothes in it. All right? Next thing, it's not required, but I do recommend carrying a stove and a pot. Trust me, it's going to be cold, it's going to be miserable. You're going to want hot food halfway through the race, I'm sure of it. Next thing is not officially on the required gear list, but you got to make sure you have everyone's own personal medications, and if you have any medical issues, you need to go and talk to a race coordinator or post on the page about something so we know. I usually carry a first aid kit. This is actually one of the club's first aid kits. It's a little extensive for the needs of this trip, but you know, make sure you at least carry your personal medication. Another nice piece of gear that you're not required is a spot tracker. I use these to have my loved ones keep up with me along the way. Not a necessity, but kind of a nice thing to have. Next thing we're going to go over is a few pieces of gear that you're going to have in the boat. Your paddles are super duper important, guys. You know, we have a few different types up here. You know, some of the nicer ones and some of the not so nice ones. What I'd recommend is everyone in your boat has a paddle, and then you carry one spare. Last year we had one team actually lose, their paddle broke after 5 miles of being in the race. So it's always nice to have a spare. Alright guys, so I just kind of want to go over one possible setup for how to rig up your boat. This is kind of what I used this weekend. What I did is I like this back larger portage pack for all my clothes, my tent, my sleeping bag, the things I need. This is where my spare change of clothes is. Next, I just put my PFD here. I put my food bag right here, just in case I gotta get a snack or something. Some boats you'll have a seat underneath and you can put like a porter, like a thwart bag, but you know, in a boat like this you can't really do that, so I put all my food right here next to me in case I need a snack. I put my ditch kit down here as well, easy to get to. Another thing we didn't really go over, but it's really important, is bailing gear. So you're gonna want to attach this to your boat, but you know, orange juice container like this, bleach bottle, whatever you have that has a handle that you can scoop stuff up with. It's really nice, especially if it's super duper rainy. You can start getting some of the water out of your boat. You don't have to wait for portages to get it out. Another nice thing to have is sponges. You can tie those in and then you can just wring those out during the race, and then all your gear won't be getting soaked. That's on the bottom. Next thing, I like to carry 2 paddles with me, a wood one just in case things get a little bit rocky, and then, you know, if you have the option, a nicer paddle for your longer stints. Another rule is you're supposed to have water in your boat, 3 to 4 quarts. I just use Nalgene's. If you have 2 or 3 of these, you know, that'll be more than sufficient. Clip them so they're within arm's reach, and Other than that, guys, that's just one way you can rig it up. Thanks for tuning in. This is all the gear that you're going to need for the race. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to call me, text me, message me, email me, and I look forward to seeing all of you in April. Bye.